Hey, it's James, Father's Rights and Resources, hashtag how I got custody. So I was talking to a guy today. He said he was in court and objecting to the opposing attorney violating the rules of evidence over and over again, which happens all the time. The most common rule of evidence that's violated is the personal knowledge rule. You guys should Google the rules of evidence and have them down. If they're confusing to you, I have a relatively cheap video in my online store that's an hour and 20 minutes, and it costs, you know, less than half the price for a consult with me that long. And most people who talk to me about the rules of evidence, they follow up with more questions and more questions. So I did a video that you can download and you can watch it as many times as you want. If there's one rule you're stuck on, you can watch that rule over and over. It's stuff your attorney, when and if you had an attorney or if you've been representing yourself, the judges allow the rules of evidence to be violated all the time. And the rules of evidence are put in place just like any rule for anything, for a game, for business. There's no insider trading in businesses or dealing with the stock market. There's certain, principles that different businesses have to abide by. There's rules of the road, there's rules in a football game, so people don't cheat. And so it's a fair, level playing field. And if the rules are violated, then it's an unfair hearing. If you have an unfair hearing, you don't have due process. And if you don't have due process, the judgment is void. But most of these judges, because when they were attorneys, they didn't care about the rules of evidence, so they don't care when they become judges. So it's your job or your attorney's job as the coach of your team to tattle on the other side and tell the referee you're missing the call. Look, you need to call a penalty on this, just like you would in a sports game. So the baby's mom kept violating the rules of evidence, so the dad kept objection hearsay, objection personal knowledge, objection expert testimony, objection ER 403, objection 402, whatever. And the judge said, "Look, I want everybody to be respectful and respect each other's time." Well, if they don't follow the rules of the court, you should get mad at them for not respecting the rules of the court. That's what the dad should have said. And if you're mad at me for interrupting them when they're violating the rules, I mean, how stupid is that? But he also turned to the dad and say, he kept objecting. He's like, "You're not helping your case." So what he's saying is something that a lot of judges do. They'll threaten to hurt your case or hurt your time with your kids because of your conduct in court conduct. Even if I'm obnoxious in the courtroom, what does that got to do with anything? I had a dad who, well, this happens often. Look at the way he's talking in court papers, or the father was attacking the attorney personally. I saw a situation where a dad was saying the attorney was just racking up billing fees, and they sanctioned him for saying that. Well, you have a right to commit blasphemy against these attorneys because they're not perfectly holier than thou gods in the courtroom. And if they do violate, they have boundaries by the rules of professional conduct, the oath of an attorney, Civil Rule 11. So that judge abused her authority. That's actually a family law commissioner. The guy's doing a revision and appealing that decision. But, the attorney went in and whined and cried, "This is the worst case. He's personally attacking me." You're supposed to be thick-skinned. They tried to use his conduct in the courtroom as if he's doing. The mother's sitting there crucifying him in court and attacking him and his character, and the attorney gets butthurt and thin-skinned and gets sensitive, but the dad wasn't thinking to be able to answer like I'm answering. How can the attorney, who is trained in the area of law, and who the purpose of attorneys is partly to they're supposed to separate themselves from the emotion of the situation, and she's all caught up in the emotion of the situation, and she actually committed misconduct, and I'm not allowed to call out misconduct? Why does Civil Rule 11 even exist? Why does the rules of professional conduct even exist? Attorneys are well known for lying and violating things and playing tricks and cheating. It's prosecuting attorneys who's got all these innocent people in prison that had to get out, that didn't get out until DNA evidence vindicated them. Attorneys are disbarred every month in every state of this country. And you're sitting here saying you're going to sanction me for opening my mouth and saying this attorney is committing this misconduct? How dare you? You're just protecting one of your buddies who's in the same club as you. It looks like you guys went to the same cocktail parties and you're saying, "Don't, how dare you attack my friend, so I'm going to punish you." But more specifically, like in the case with the guy using the evidence rules, he's objecting to the rules of evidence. The judge says, "You're not helping your case." So you're threatening that you're going to reduce my time with the kid. So you're threatening to harm the child. Why? Because of my objections in court. So you're going to deprive the child of a basic life need because of my objections in court? Really? So what's next? If I keep doing it, or if I violate another rule or something, are you going to deprive the child of food too? You know, I'm right up there with food, water, and air as far as the most important thing in the child's life. I'm second. And you're sitting there saying, I'm going to punish the child and take the father away from the child, the basic life need, because of what you're doing in this courtroom. Why don't you just deal with the courtroom within the courtroom's bounds? Moreover, the law and the factors in the law are what determine how much custody and visitation time I get. There's no factor in the law that says the father's conduct in the courtroom, if he objects too much, or if he forgets to confirm a hearing, or if he goes over the page count, that the child should suffer an absent father because of those antics. You're abusing your authority and punishing the child and holding the child ransom and saying, "You do that again, I'll take your child away." That's actually pretty sickening that you threaten that, Your Honor. You're overstepping your bounds. You're bound by the Code of Judicial Conduct, and you're bound by the law. The law doesn't say if the person objects too much in court, the child should not have a relationship with that person. You know, attorneys forget to confirm hearings all the time. They go over the page count. They violate the rules and stuff. Are you going to take their kids away from are you going to take the attorney's kids away from them too as punishment? See, that's an example. What I just said is to take their logic and their thinking or their measuring stick for how they determine something. Whatever they say, apply that to you, or turn it around and apply it to somebody else and take it to the extreme so they see how stupid they look. Another example of that is the mother withheld the child for a month. Okay, you can have some makeup time. We're not going to hold her in contempt because I don't find bad faith or whatever. Or I'm not going to find her in contempt or do makeup time. It's over and done with. Let's move forward and try and get you guys to get along. Oh, okay. So it's an established fact she withheld the child from me for a month. And there's a court order in place. And you're not going to enforce your court order. You don't care about, like, what's the purpose of the court if you make an order and nobody listens to it? Why do you even exist? If we could just obey court orders like that, I guess next time I have the kid, I'll just keep the kid for a month. Because you're not going to find me in contempt. They'll go, "Oh, wait a minute now. Not you, the father." See, if you flip it around and you show it to their face what they're doing, because, they're biased toward the mother. If you show it to their face what they're doing, and confront them with it, like, if in Jim Crow South, if a white person slapped a black person, everybody looked the other way. But if the black person fights back and hits the white person or stomps them and drops them to the ground, everybody gets outraged because of their bias. And if he says, "Well, he hit me first," they'll say, "You were acting like a monster," because they're looking at them in the lens of their racism or their bias. So the court is overlooking the mother's contempt, but when you say, "I'll do the same thing," then they'll go, "Well, wait a minute." Like, the Black Panthers actually, they were walking around Congress when Ronald Reagan was governor, and they had, I don't know if they had AR-15s or AK-47s, but they had some high-powered rifles of some sort, or semi-automatic guns. And then they created a law to ban that, or, Governor Reagan did an executive order, because here comes some black dudes doing it. You guys can't do it, So you got to go in there with some balls and not be scared to call them on their stuff. Is a coach scared to yell at the referee if they miss a call? If somebody steps out of bounds at the 30 and they call it a touchdown and you see it on the replay and everybody sees it, they will cuss that referee out. How come you're afraid to stand up to a judge and confront them on their stuff? That's what court is for. If you don't do that, then just take it up the rear.